Hello, good evening everyone to those who are based in the eastern part of the world, and good morning or good afternoon to all of you who are joining in us from the rest of the world. Thank you all for joining us today for the webinar that's been hosted by Huilan Jin Jackson, who is the Director of Law Graduate Admission at DePaul University, School of Law, College of Law. Now, she will be talking today about the LLM program as well as the accelerated 2-year JD program. For those of you who do not know the JD program, which is like the undergraduate or the graduate LLB program, equivalent to the LLB program, but which will give you a greater possibility of qualifying for the bar exam. But instead of me telling more about it, I will let Huilan speak more about the topic. So Huilan, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for joining us, and thank you for taking the time to explain about the LLM application process as well as the accelerated JD application process and the advantages between the two. So I'll let you take the presentation the way forward from here. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Vishnu, for the kind introduction. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being with me today. My name is Huilan Jin Jackson, and I am the Director of Law Graduate Admissions at DePaul University College of Law. Today, I'm going to talk about, like Vishnu mentioned, the accelerated 2-year JD program and LLM programs that we offer at DePaul. And more importantly, lay out the differences in terms of the degree requirements, the length, tuition, scholarships, etc., to better assist you in your decision-making process. Before I begin, I just want to quickly mention that the law school, we are located in the loop of the city, so you sometimes might hear the subway passing by, so I apologize for that in advance. As you see in the screen, the first left on top picture, that's where literally the College of Law is, and you do see a subway right there, which is where the noise sometimes can come from the background, so I apologize. So the reason that I choose this topic is because I get asked a lot by foreign law graduates about which program should I choose, the difference between the two programs, and if they can take the bar exam in certain states such as New York or Illinois after completing these programs. So in order to make it easier to understand, I will use two charts to compare the differences of the two programs. And lastly, I will also list few factors that you might want to consider when you decide which program to pursue. Just note that this presentation focuses on programs for foreign law graduates who already have received their primary law degree in your home country outside of the U.S., such as RRB in India. So if you do not have a primary law degree, you will have to apply for a regular 3-year JD program and take the law school admission test. So firstly, I'd like to briefly introduce you who DePaul is. We are urban. We are located in the 3rd largest city in the U.S., Chicago, and we are proud to say that our students come from all 50 states in the United States and 114 countries throughout the world. Chicago itself is an ideal classroom, and we take full advantage of it. We are also the nation's largest Catholic and private university. We were founded in 1898, and it took the name from 17th century French priest Saint Vincent de Paul, who transformed the face of France by helping disadvantaged people. In terms of the law school, DePaul was voted twice as best LLM program in Chicago by National Law Journal readers. We are located in the heart of Chicago business and legal communities, and the law school is within walking distance of the state and federal courts, government offices, and many law firms. Our graduates hold positions of leadership throughout the nation in the law firms, corporations, government agencies, and in the judiciary. And our DePaul Law alumni includes 3 former mayors of Chicago, CEOs of major corporations, and hundreds of federal and state judges. So as to our programs, our distinct 2-year JD program does not require the law school admissions test. And admitted students will receive 1 year of credit, which allows them to earn the JD in only 2 years of full-time study. We also have 5 specialized LLM programs in the listed areas. including LLM U.S. legal studies, intellectual property law, health law, taxation, and international law. And under international law, you can choose a concentration from the following 4 different areas, including the business, commercial trade law, cultural heritage law, governance, rule of law, and human rights law. So here is a first chart that I like to share that compares 2-year JD program and LLM in U.S. legal studies, for example. So a regular JD program requires 86 credit hours normally for traditional American students who have a bachelor's degree in certain areas. Since we allow 28 credit hour waiver for foreign law graduates, you would only need 58 credit hours to graduate. For the LLM program, you need 24 credit hours to graduate, and it can be completed in 1 year full-time. So for the JD program, you can only start in the fall semester, which is usually around mid or late August. But for the LLM programs, you can start either in the fall or spring semester. And spring semester usually begins early or mid-January. You can also notice a big difference in the tuition. However, we do have a larger scholarship funding for the 2-year JD program. So any student who applied to the LLM or JD program will be automatically considered for the merit scholarships. There's no separate application form for scholarships. So for the JD program, the scholarship ranges between a few $1,000s per year up to $30,000 per year. And for LLM program, it is usually up to $8,500 total. So for example, in terms of the eligibility to the bar, the New York bar contact information, so many of the foreign law graduates, like the person mentioned, want to sit for the New York bar because New York bar has relatively flexible requirements. However, the eligibility is dependent on individual basis, and if you're interested in taking a bar in the States, you should first contact the respective bar association in that specific state to clarify the eligibility. So for example, the New York bar contact information and eligibility information can be found on their website. The easiest way, I think, is you can just Google BOLE, New York, and that's basically the bar association for the New York bar. And then the eligibility based on foreign legal education can be found under section 520.6. And you can also look up the comprehensive guide to bar admission requirements of United States. So again, you can Google 2017 comprehensive guide to bar admission requirements. And then there's this PDF that's available online, and between page 12 and 13, that's where it listed all the requirements for foreign law graduates to take the bar exam in each different state. Lastly, a 2-year JD program, you may not be able to select a concentration or certificate. Unlike LLM, you can choose an area like health law, intellectual property law, or U.S. legal studies. So I will explain more in the next slide. So here you can see the courses that you will take as part of the JD and LLM program. The first year of the 2-year JD program, you will take the same required courses as the regular JD program students. So you will see the constitutional law, civil procedure, contracts, including also the legal writing sections. And each semester, you will take about 4 of these courses, plus professionalism training courses called Preparing to Practice, and I will explain more later. In the second year of the JD, you will continue to take more additional required courses, such as legal writing courses, and then complete the 58 credit hour requirement. In the LLM program, you will be required to take 2 introductory courses in the American legal systems and legal writing course. The remaining 6 courses or so, students must review requirements of the particular state carefully and discuss individual course selection with their academic advisor. As you can see, the JD program allows you to take foundational doctrinal courses in your first year, and LLM program focuses more on specific concentration that you like to pursue. For example, if you pick LLM International Law, that you can take the courses related to the international business transaction or public international law, etc. Another curricular difference is that the first year of the JD program, you'll be required to participate in the program called Preparing to Practice. So it's basically a 16-week course divided over first half of the 2 semesters. It includes receiving assistance in resumes, cover letters, interviewing, networking, so that students are prepared to seek job opportunities afterwards. We are one of the 25 schools in the nation that has a mandatory professionalism program, and we're the only one in the Chicago that has one. LLM students also have practical training opportunities, including legal clinics in your concentration area, networking events, and career counseling. So at DePaul Law, we have strong and robust legal clinics in asylum, immigration, civil litigation, criminal appeals, family law, housing, mediation, intellectual property, etc. So basically what it means is that you are working under supervision of a professor who is licensed to practice and work with the real clients in the community, and it's a great way to train legal skills and boost your resume as well as making connections, and those will be counted towards your program. Those credits will be counted towards your program as well. Now that we've covered differences in the 2 programs in general, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the application process. The required materials are listed as you can see. We do require evaluated law transcript from foreign law graduates, and there are different organizations that you can have it evaluated, including LSAC CAS, ECE, WES, Education Perspective, and so on. You may find more information on our website, but please note that TOEFL or IELTS is required for whom English is not the primary language in their education. But if your, let's say, bachelor's degree was taught in English, then you can request for a waiver. So the minimum TOEFL score is 90, and the minimum IELTS score is 6.5. One thing that I'd like to mention is that 2-year JD program is much more competitive to get in than the LLM programs. Every year we have about 2,000 applications in the JD for a final class size of 250 students. In terms of the application review, we do take a very holistic review approach, which means that when reviewing applications, we not only look at the traditional numeric factors like the GPA, the IELTS, or TOEFL score, but we also look at your extracurricular experiences or job experiences. And we read carefully about your personal statement and cover letters to understand more about you.
Huilan, if I can just interrupt you for 1 second, because there has been a question, and to all the attendees, I forgot to mention at the beginning, if you do have any questions, then please feel free to ask at any point of time, and then we can put it forward to Huilan. And the question is with regard to the JD program that you were mentioning, and I think you might be covering that at a little later stage probably. It's regarding the fees. So if it's for the accelerated JD program, what exactly would be the charges for the accelerated JD program?
Certainly.
The tuition plus living.
Yes, certainly. So this slide basically lays out the tuition and scholarship information. You can see under the 2-year JD program, you'll see the tuition is $93,560. That's for the entire tuition. So each year you'll be basically paying about $46,000 US. However, the merit scholarship is eligible for anybody who apply and get admitted. So the range is between few $1,000 up to $30,000 per year. So let's say if you're a really strong applicant, you have a great GPA, you have great English language proficiency, you have even some kind of extracurricular activities or professional experience that you can add to, then let's say if you were awarded to the top scholarship, $30,000, then you are essentially paying about $15,000 or $60,000 per year. So in that case, your tuition will be about $30,000 for the 2-year JD program.
The follow-up question is that he was asking, is that 93,560, does it include the living expenses, or it's purely the tuition as well? And
yes. So yeah, just to clarify, this only includes the tuition. It does not include living expenses. The living expenses, I would say it's about $18,000 per year. So then it's about $1,600 per month. And in Chicago, I think that's more than enough. And especially when you're a student, a lot of students do try to be frugal, and there are on-campus jobs that you can apply for and try to subsidize with your living expenses. But yes, the $93,000 does not include living expenses at all.
Thank you for the question, Rajesh. I hope that answers it. Thank you, Huilan, for the answer. And if there is any further question, I will ask in between.
Sure. Thank you. So here is the few factors that I thought you might want to consider when deciding between LLM and 2-year JD programs. If you like to stay in the States and practice, then I do highly recommend the JD program if you are able to. There are a couple of reasons, but one of it is bar eligibility. So for example, in Illinois, the Bar Association does require 5 years of experience out of the last 7 years in your home country so that you can take the bar exam in Illinois. Many other states have limitations if you only have the LLM from the state and with no JD. So in that sense, with JD degree, you will be able to sit for the bar exam in any state in the U.S. So secondly, JD will give you more competitive advantage than the LLM program because JD covers, like I mentioned, the foundational courses and the legal writing courses that better prepare you to succeed after graduation. You're competing with American law graduates who don't only have the foundational courses, so without it, it would put you at disadvantage, I would say. However, if your goal is to earn an advanced law degree and find better opportunities and already have established connections in your home country, then maybe LLM gives you enough credential in the specialized area. Just so you know that every year we have LLM graduates who decide to continue and apply for the 2-year JD program, either because they realize it's not enough for them to find jobs in the state, or because they really like Chicago, they would like to extend their time here, and they feel like JD will give them more advantage. So, as I mentioned, we have strong intellectual property, health law, and robust international law programs for those who like to specialize. So if that's your strong interest in a specialized area, then LLM is what you're looking for. But generally, JD includes more comprehensive career services and practical training opportunities that you can participate because it is also throughout the 2-year program versus 1 year of the LLM program. And there are many excellent law schools in the U.S., no doubt. However, if you prefer an urban and cosmopolitan experience while studying in the U.S., you might want to consider big cities in the East Coast, West Coast, or a city like Chicago in the Midwest. The living cost is always one of the top concerns that many students have, which is completely understandable. However, it does provide you with an excellent opportunity to explore the diverse culture, the global legal and business market, and the big city experience that you might have seen in the movies. One thing I'd like to point out is that most of the cities in the U.S. do require you to drive and own a car. Many cities are just not built for a lot of the public transportation. So if you're somebody who is not comfortable driving and own a car and think it's a burden in terms of the cost, then you might want to consider those cities that have strong established public transportation. I think this is something that a lot of students don't necessarily think about until they arrive, so I'd like to just point it out. So there are a few cities that provide convenient public transportation, and I'm proud to say that Chicago is one of them, which is also one of the reasons that I really like Chicago. Most students commute with subway or bus, and students receive student transportation card. It's called UPass for a very reasonable price each semester. Lastly, I'd like to mention that it is about finding the right fit. There is no perfect law school for everybody, and oftentimes it is about finding the school that provides you what you're looking for. So this is my contact information. Thank you for your interest at DePaul Law. It's listed on the website as well about how to apply and more information. But if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. This is my email. And we are always looking for strong candidates all over the world, and I hope to hear from you sometime in the near future.
Thank you so much, Huilan. There are a few questions that has been asked, and one is by Rishabh, who asked, like, during the 2-year JD program, is it possible to work part-time anywhere? So, or because in certain countries there is a requirement that you have to work part-time only with those jobs that is connected to what you do. So is it possible to work anywhere during the 3-year JD program?
That's a great question.
2-year JD program. Yeah.
Yes, that's a great question. And yes, I think it's right that there are restrictions in some countries, and I have to say that U.S. is part of them because U.S. does have strong requirements, or let's say, yes, eligibility for working outside campus, especially for international students. So if you're coming here on a student visa, and if you like to work outside the campus, we rarely have students work part-time when they're doing JD. So there are a couple reasons. First is JD program does require a lot of your time and preparation. Usually students spend about 40 to 50 hours outside of their classroom to prepare, do the assignments, do the readings. So technically the first semester especially, you would have no time to work. And let's say the second year you feel a little more comfortable, you try to work, but there are restrictions in terms of the immigration that does not allow students to work unless it is very related to the area of the study, which is in the law. And even for the law, the most practical training that our students have that I see is participating in the field placement. What that means is basically you are doing an, let's say, internship. It's similar as legal internship outside of the campus. And those would have to depend on if that employer is going to pay you or not. Oftentimes, students would find an internship or externship, we call it, outside of campus, and those will be going towards the JD credits. But with 2-year JD, since it's such a limited credit hours that you have to complete, and also there are a lot of requirements within that 58 credit hours you have to complete, I do not think it's very practical to think that you will be working part-time outside of campus. But if your goal is to gain more practical experiences, then there are different opportunities like legal clinics, there's the field placement, there's the networking events, the career counseling programs that I would strongly recommend, or on-campus jobs. That's definitely free for students to apply and get.
So there are 3 questions by one person, Sangeet, and he asked, like, what is the minimum score of TOEFL or IELTS to be considered for an application for scholarship? And the second thing that he has asked is, in the JD program, can we specialize in some areas like telecom or technology, or does it cover aspects of international commercial drafting and things like that?
Mm-hmm. So the 2 questions, I can start with the minimum TOEFL or IELTS score. So we have the minimum scores for Jd and Nlm, which is the same. For the TOEFL, it's 90. For the IELTS, it's 6.5, and we do not require any specific requirements in terms of each section have to be above certain score. We do not have that requirement. It's the total score. for scholarships, anybody who is admitted or who apply will be automatically considered. So it does not limit any students to have a certain score. But of course, like I said, the minimum is this, and if you do meet the minimum requirement and if you are admitted, for JD program, I would say most of our students do get scholarships. It's a matter of how much you get. And like I said, the range is huge, between a few $1,000s up to $30,000 per year. So the higher the better, I would definitely say. But the minimum is 90 and IELTS is 6.5. For the second question regarding the specialized area as part of the 2-year JD program, I would say it's not really an option for the 2-year JD program. However, for a regular 3-year JD program, we have a great areas of certificates that you can choose from, including the technology or intellectual property. However, the 3-year regular JD program, it's 86 credit hours, which means the 3rd year, you are basically choosing a lot of areas that you're interested at as elective courses. But with the 2-year JD program, since you have to meet the certain degree requirements, including taking all the 1st-year courses and 2nd year, there are additional requirements, it is very unlikely that you will be able to choose any specialized area.
And there is also a question from Simran, who asks, what is the minimum GPA for admission to the JD program? Is there like a minimum marks that a person has to get during their LLB or law degree back in their respective country to be considered for the JD program? And is an LSAT not required? Is that correct?
Yeah, so that's great questions. First of all, the minimum GPA, there is no minimum GPA in terms of the JD, but that does not mean that it doesn't matter. It matters a lot, but as I mentioned, it's a holistic approach, which means we look at the GPA, we look at your English language proficiency, we look at your professional experience. I can tell you that we have a median GPA score of the class that we brought in. So it's 3.2, and you can kind of compare your GPA to it and then see where you stand. For 2016 class, it was 3.14 median GPA. So that just gives you an idea of where the GPA stands. But of course, it is out of 4. So if you are graduating from a school, or if you have graduated from a school that's different scale, then it also depends on how you're going to transfer it to a US grading scale, which is what the evaluation report will do when you submit the applications. In terms of LSAT, yes, you're correct that if you have a primary law degree in your home country, like LLB, we do not require LSAT. And we are one of the small number of schools that can waive this requirement. And when you graduate, you'll be graduating the regular JD that's accredited by ABA. And we've, I think right now we have about 30, 40 foreign law graduates in this specialized 2-year JD program.
So there is another question by Shivani, who has asked a question: when writing the letter of recommendation, whose letter of recommendation is better, whether it is the academician or the professor who has taught them and know their work in the law school, or can it be a professional a lawyer's recommendation where they are interned or something like that?
Yes, so I would say both are great choices. One is required for JD and 2 are required for LLM. So let's say if you are a recent law graduate, then you can maybe get both recommendation letters or one recommendation letter from the professor that you performed really well. However, if you've been working a few years and you've already established some connections, and if you think you can get a strong recommendation letter from your supervisor, that's also a great idea as well, because we always like to see somebody who performed really well in professional setting. That also helps to boost your application at the same time. I would say though, please make sure that you're finding someone who is willing to give you more substantial evaluation of your performance than just a general 1 paragraph. because we do look at it carefully, and it is also part of the evaluation as well.
There's a question from Sambhavi. Sambhavi asks, is it possible to work as a paralegal during the JD program because it's connected with the law, and if at all they are able to find a position, is that something that they can do?
Yes, so I mentioned briefly, but basically it has to be linked with the study. So paralegal, I would assume it is related to the area of study. You do have to receive approval from our International Student Services. So that's the department that basically evaluates and then gives the permission for international students to work outside. It also have to be linked with some sort of academic program as part of the JD. So let's say it's if you are doing it as a style of internship, we call it field placement. You can apply, and if you're have this offer, then if it's evaluated by the International Students Services saying that, okay, this should be able to qualify, and then we would basically apply some of those credits towards JD. In terms of if you can get paid or not, that's your employer's decision. Does it make sense?
I hope that answers your question, Sambhavi. And there is another question that's like, is there any, by Sangeet, who has asked if there is any upper age limit for applying for the JD program or for the LLM program?
Oh, no. We never discriminate based on age or race or anything. So there's no upper age. I can share the range that we have. For fall 2016, our age is between 21 to 49, and it changes every year too. Just so you know, it's just the fall 2016, our student age range was between 21 to 49, and the median age for the full-time students is 23, part-time median age is 28. But as you can see, there's 2 decades of the range in terms of the application.
I hope that answers your question. And there is also one additional question from Shivani, who has asked whether it's possible to work as a teaching assistant, and how easy is it to be working as a teaching assistant, and how easy is such a position to come by?
Yeah, so for teaching assistant, I don't think I really saw many law students gaining a position as teaching assistant outside of the law school. We do have very limited teaching assistant positions at DePaul Law School. And I do know one of the positions is for somebody who can help with the law, especially international law students at the law school. So I know there's somebody who is second year, 2-year JD student. She became a TA for one of the introductory legal writing courses for international students at the law school. That's usually maybe 1 or 2 credits, or maybe it can be 3 credits worth, and that can count towards your degree. However, if the TA, because some people, when they talk about TA, they think of waiving their tuition at the law school. We do not currently have that opportunities for the law students. I know sometimes maybe business school, there's a 1 TA, and then they would do a substantial research or work for the professor, and some of their tuition will be waived. I guess it's very much substantial amount of the tuition will be waived, but at the College of Law, currently we do not have that opportunity. And I do not think it is a common thing to find in the law schools in general.
I hope that answers your question. And there is one question by Rishabh again. Like, he asked, like, what is the difference between a 2-year JD program and a conventional 3-year JD program, in the sense that will the 2-year JD program be learning lesser subjects and lesser modules than the conventional 3-year JD program students?
Yes, that's a great question. So there are different differences between 2-year JD and 3-year JD. First of all, not everybody will be eligible to 2-year JD. It's only for international students who already have a law degree. So we consider those students have an advanced standing. So we will award up to 28 credit hours based on their primary law degree that they already received. So if it is just a regular American student applying, they have to go through the 3-year because they don't have any other previous law background. So 2-year JD, it's 58 credit hours versus 3 years, it's 86 credit hours, which is where we waived the 28 credit hours. In terms of the curriculum, the first year you are taking exactly the same courses. And as you can see on the left side of the 2-year JD program, I listed all the courses that are required. And half of those you are taking the first semester of the first year. The other half of those you are taking on the second semester of the first year. And then there are 2-3 additional requirements you have to complete on the second year. So after that, it is getting really close to the 58 degree requirements. However, the 3-year JD program, the first 2 years basically it's similar. They have to complete those credit hours and required courses. But the third year, those additional 28 credit hours, that's when a lot of students try to take elective courses if they have strong interest in certain areas. In terms of those specialized areas, we have strong intellectual property law and health law programs. So many students may take some of those courses in third year, but when you graduate, you are graduating with the same accredited JD degree that would allow you to sit for the bar exam in any state in the U.S., including Illinois, New York, and anywhere.
Can a recent graduate, I mean, there is a question which just came in regarding the JD program, and the question is, can a new graduate join JD program without any experience in practice field? And okay, so what she's asking is that is it possible for a new graduate without any practical experience to join the JD program? And post the completion of JD program, do you have anything like a job fair or a placement option or something like that that is available for the graduating JD student?
Yeah, certainly. So I'm showing a page that listed all the application process and required documents. We do not require professional experience or job experience per se. Anybody who have the primary law degree can apply to any of these 2 programs. Of course, certainly having a professional experience is a plus, but it's not a requirement. For the job fair opportunities, yes, we have really robust and strong career service that assists students to help finding jobs. As I mentioned, JD program generally has more comprehensive services from the beginning, including the Preparing to Practice program. So I can share a little bit more about what that entails in terms of the career support and counseling. So in addition to some of the workshops that you have to attend as part of the JD, these are additional requirements. So you have to attend mock interview with an alum and volunteer or volunteer in the second semester of your first year. You are basically learning about the business of law from the first year, taking an assignment and receiving feedbacks. You have to attend 2 required networking events that's hosted by the Career Services. There's informational interview you have to do in the first semester. And in the second year, students are invited to attend some of the on-campus interviews. Those tend to be the most competitive job fairs that you can attend, and it is strictly based on the first year GPA and how you did in the law school. So let's say if you had a great GPA in the first year of the law school, you have a more chance to be able to receive an offer and be able to work for the law firms. And those fairs tend to happen in the second year. And also third year students, we have different fairs and associations that we invite to meet with our students. So there are many, many different opportunities for students to participate throughout the JD. So it's not just we let you take the classes the first 2 years and then you just thrown into job fair. It's not that way. It's from the beginning we try to cultivate you with the professionalism and with the legal cultures here so that you are better prepared.
I hope that answers your question, Virangana. So I think that's it with the questions. We do not have any further questions. Would you like to add something more, Huilan, to the presentation that the attendees might be finding valuable? Like anything more that you would want to in light of the questions that has been asked?
I just like to mention that we are one of the small number of schools that waive the LSAT score for 2-year JD program. It's a great program if that is your goal to be able to receive a JD degree in the U.S. Time-wise, tuition-wise, it's much stronger investment than a regular JD. However, if you're looking for is LLM programs in the specialized area, let's say IP or health law or international business, then it's really about finding the right fit. But otherwise, I really appreciate everybody who were able to participate in this webinar. And here's again my contact information. Please feel free to contact me for any questions. But thank you so much, Vishnu, as well.
Thank you, Huilan, and thank you everyone for joining us. So if at all there are any further questions, then you can reach out to Huilan directly. So thank you all. With that, we can conclude the webinar. Thank you very much for joining us today.